you've got an entire class or grouping of people where traveling and going to the beach was their passion, and now they're a content creator that helps people find great beaches. Monetization of skill and ability, things that you love. That's hopefully is the end of that's the idea of human endeavor. You do things you love, and then you're able to kind of be compensated for them, right?
I mean, nowadays it sounds a little bit like a luxury, right?
Well, I think if and this is getting straight into it.
Straight into it. The
only reason we haven't been compensated for our contributions in the past is inefficiencies. So, we all had a friend that was, into music, that told us about the best music out there all the time. And they did it because it was something they loved, and they weren't compensated for it outside of just appreciation and friendship. But that's what the music industry should evolve into, layers and layers of people that are discoverers sharing with people who are less interested in discovery. And, that's effectively kind of a upside down V. It sounds like a pyramid. I've already described a pyramid scheme. No, it's not a pyramid scheme, but it is a pyramid. All pyramids are not evil. But that sense of the sense that we all have friends that we know of that are better at other things than us, and that we would certainly compensate them for if we could. The person that invariably books the tickets for us to go to the concert because I'm not a ticket booker, and they're the one that knows the concert that's coming out like 6 months from now, right?
Yeah, this idea about music, right? Like, I was thinking about this other thing, like in terms of like what vintage you are with respect to when did your friends get cell phones?
Sure.
In like your social circle, right? And so for me, it was like right in between high school and uni. So we went through all of high school, those formative years.
Yeah, I see.
Absolutely no cell phones.
Yes.
And then they started to come into the market. And so you could have gone to uni, this is around like 2003.
Yes.
Without any cell phones. Obviously, Facebook was just starting up. And so like our recommenders had to be the friends. Yeah,
that's right. So you're right that the cell phone and then the advent of social media has meant that this is, and that's arguably what's made this thing move so much faster. Technology adoption. I got distracted there whilst you tried to kind of lay it on me how old you were. I was sitting there going like, listen.
I use the word vintage.
I'm 51 years old. So my experience is that as far as I can remember, I think Elvis had a phone in his, I wasn't around for Elvis, by the way, but Elvis had a phone in his plane, and then I was born like just after that. So cell phones kind of like I can't even remember. I think probably the first ones maybe like mid-90s. Is that when people started to kind of start to buy them?
Yeah.
Right?
And it was rare.
Early
right?
90s.
It was like, what do you need that for? Oh, what do you do with it?
Yeah. I was there either way. There was a Nokia 6310 that was, an amazing phone. So it was indestructible. You could throw it at people. It was literally used in murders.
And so like back to music a little bit here, right? Yeah. This seems to me like one of the most broken industries. Are we starting to like come around from that?
No. And, music is this kind of canary in the coal mine. Usually when technology arrives, someone tries to reshape music with that technology. And for eternity, musicians have been promised that this is the technology that's going to make the distribution of revenue fair. And every single time, without exception, it makes it more asymmetrical and less fair for the musicians. So, I would be really surprised if there's any musician out there that believes that this technology is going to improve their outcomes. But by definition, if Web3 works, then it should. So I usually start when I say something like Web3, just in case, I like to help define it. Is that okay if I do that?
Please. Let me know your perspective on it.
Yeah, so the best way it's been described to me is the Web 1 was the nascent early internet. It was read-only. You went to a website and the restaurant said it was open. It's open at 5 p.m. and this is their phone number. And that was all websites did. Then some geniuses invented the ability to leave a comment, maybe a review. That technology led to social media, users were now able to interact with these websites, with these community areas, the rise of Friendster and Bebo and MySpace, and then Facebook and Instagram, etc. And that's Web 2. So Web 1 was read-only. Web 2 was read and write. The users are able to contribute. Web 3 is read, write, and own. So your contribution is now valued and you can be compensated for it. So in the restaurant, I've kind of dug myself a hole here using a restaurant example. But if you're a reviewer and you're able to contribute, or if you're a content creator that's going to a restaurant and you're able to build them content that then gets them business, the ability for that restaurant to compensate you immediately is the premise of Web3. That your content, wherever it goes, is your content and you're getting compensated for it.
So I'm on board with this. And like you had me up into the point of like, and the restaurant compensates you immediately. And this, similar to like recording artists getting compensated, it seems like such a hard problem. Or it seems like...
I mean, it's a hard problem as long as we buy into... I just spent, so I'm a little bit late, or at least I was really flustered because I just spent an hour and a quarter at a bank trying to open a bank account. It's insane. And it just reminds me of how unbelievably inflexible.
You went to a real place.
Yeah, it was insane.
Yeah.
It was just, everything about it was amazingly puzzling. The nice people in there. I walked in within 15 to 20 minutes. 3 people had walked in and yelled at someone in there. I can't imagine working. They were really lovely people in there, but these people weren't yelling at the customer service reps.
They were emotional.
But they were yelling at the fact that, no matter what happens, the processes for this banking system that we've set up are designed to kind of frustrate and thwart you. That's the entire process. But so it takes us back to payments, right? Right now, and I'm going to pull this number a little bit out of my ass, but I've heard it from a couple of people. Right. So 4% of our global GDP is banking inefficiency. So definitely fact check that. Let's fact check that.
Yep.
4%. So if GDP, when we think about that, what does that mean? It means that 4% of global GDP is in banking. Well, all they're really doing is moving money between things. That's not worth 4%.
Right, a lot of signatures and stamping. And
yeah, it's ridiculous. And back to your example, so say you've got, let's talk about the music industry. And I have some understanding of this.
Okay.
There are people out there that are much better. Gino the Ghost, follow Gino the Ghost. He's just brilliant. And he'll school you on this. But effectively, over 100 years, this industry just developed layers and layers of inefficiencies. So, a great musician will get a contract for $2 million from a record company. They've got this following, they've got all this energy. The record company says, we'll sign you up for $2 million. Sounds great, except for it's really actually a $2 million loan, and the record company owns everything ad infinitum forever, and you're paying that mostly back to the record company. But most importantly, you're earning a fraction of your revenue, and the only service they've really provided was distribution, which no longer exists in the record industry. Distribution nowadays is social and TikTok. Yep. And so the industry is so close to collapse through lack of functionality, but we do need to start building better systems that help compensate those musicians. So that's, again, where Web3 comes in. The ability for a musician to launch a track, for people to own a part of that track and its future revenue, and for the fans to advance the musician versus a record company. That's a much better way of doing it, right?
Well, the fans do this in the first place, right? To maybe the exceptional viral video aside, the fans are, as an artist, you're bringing your fans and that support initially.
Yes.
And that's what they're seeing, right? They're seeing the music, but they're also looking at, how many people have already sort of bought in and got into this.
Yeah, there's just nothing that they're providing anymore. It's just layers and layers of kind of of inefficiencies. And so without getting too deep into the blockchain space, but that was the promise of when Web3 arrived, the very first iteration. And I'm on record as saying I think this is going to change things, because I believe musicians can release an album, fans buy songs that are, or tracks that are connected to NFTs, those